on this computer. There we go. All right. So it is, what is today? Today's May 3rd, right? It's almost May the 4th to be with you. Today, we're going to talk about a couple things. I've put together a calendar for you guys. But we're going to start with the application and the application process. And then we're going to talk about the calendar. And we're going to talk about ways that we can best help you get ready for the boards. But you understand one of the key phrases I said there was we can help you get ready for the boards, because this is going to be a lot of work on your part. I know that you've already done a lot of work, but it's still going to require more work to get through this. So we will be here to help you as much as we can, but you also have to put your own work in order to get it done. So let me first of all bring up the application here. So application is over here. Go and share screen. And let me bring up my chat so I can see if you guys say anything, because that way I can answer any questions that come up. So this is a lot of paperwork, right? There's a lot of stuff I love how they have a facsimile note on it, because everyone still has a facsimile machine. It's a fancy word for a fax, right? Fax and nothing but the facts. But there's a lot of information in this packet. When you turn this packet in, it must be in the order they have listed. So please, if nothing else, you get out of me this day, the order they have it listed in, that's the order you should put it in when you turn it into them, because Nevada's Board of PT is really, really specific about that. They want things in order so they can literally just go down their little list and check it off as you go in, right? So they did change this recently. It used to be that fingerprints expire within 30 days. The fingerprints now expire 6 months after receipt. So that means that we can actually start getting your board applications together now, get your fingerprinting done, get it turned in, and get everything set up from the boards, get your seat ordered, whatever else you want to do. I'm going to ask towards the end who's planning on testing in July and who's planning on testing in October. We'll get to that. But those that are testing in October, maybe already in your head, know that you're testing in October. You're going to want to hold off on turning your application in until we're a little closer to that, because again, the fingerprints only last so long. And, it would be kind of silly to go through and get all your application together, get it into the boards, and then only find out that your fingerprints expired before your application did, or before your time for the test did. I highly recommend just getting a manila or one of those big kind of brown or orange or whatever color envelopes you call them, getting one of those and just keeping this whole packet in that envelope, because that way you can go through check by check and get it done. The key thing here, this is really one of the important things that Muriel wanted me to talk about, is once you send in your application, please give her 10 days to process it. Don't call her, turn it in on Friday and then call her on Monday going, so is my application done? Is my application done? Is my application done? Because it does take her a little bit to get through. Right now, I want to say there are 738 PTAs that are licensed, I believe, in Pennsylvania, in Nevada. So she's going to manage all of us. So please, if you're eager and want to make sure that everything's done, just give her about 10 days to process it. The way this is going to go from now on, we as a school have verified your graduation. Dr. O'Neill has already taken care of that with the Fsbpt. You can register for your seat with the Fsbpt and register your seat with Prometric. It will not be confirmed until the board has your application on file, because there are two different kind of jurisdictional bodies that have to approve you sitting for your seat. One is the Fsbpt through the school. So the school has to say, yes, Clarice is graduated. She did finish the program and she is ready to sit for her boards. The next checkoff is the board or the Fsbpt will reach out to the board and say, hey, Nevada board, I saw your name. You're the first one there, right? Nevada board, did Clarice send in her application and did she complete her application entirely? The board will then send back a notification saying, yes, FSBPT, she did, and she is authorized to test. They'll send an ATT or an authorized to test transcript. I think it's what the ATT stands for. That then fully authorizes you to sit. And at that point, or you're going to see on the calendar I have, they'll say seat reserve date. That is the kind of the last day to 100% confirm that you're getting a seat. Other than that, it can get a little hinky on getting it. So we'll talk about that when we get to the calendar. The one thing I will say out of all the boards, I will say that, you know, especially their administrative assistant, Muriel, is fantastic over at the boards. And so is, I forget the new administrative assistant's name is, but they're really, really good at answering questions. So if you get through this and you're starting to have, there's looking at this going, man, I don't know if I need to get this or that for my application, email them or give them a call. They respond pretty quick to email, most of the times within a day. And then with a call, got to remember that we're still in the COVID thing. So most of them are working remotely. So it may take a little bit of time to respond to a call as well. So here's kind of their instructions, right? So you have to complete all the information as indicated. Either have to provide an SSN or an ITIN, I don't know how to say that, the ITIN. If you are in military, post-military, or military spouse, you will need to provide proof of your military niche, your proof of actually having military service, or, you know, your proof of your spouse having military service. The good news is, if you look here, the next thing it says is list all the PT or PTA schools attended. It used to be, yes, usually DD214 is good enough. Yes. You got it. I usually save that for when I talk to the people that are doing that, but yes, that is excellent, Billy. Usually also military ID is good. If you're married to depending on what you have, you know, DD214 is good. Certificate of marriage and ID of the spouse is also good for those maybe who just recently got married. I don't know who that would be. I usually recommend, if you have that, both. So if you're married to somebody that's, you know, the military can give you a form and everything for that. So we'll for those of you that are doing that, I can help you out with that. We'll worry about that in a little bit. And I think there's a specific application, if I remember, I posted for that. So the good news is what I was saying is you only have to list your PTA school, because when I was getting licensed originally, you had to have your high school transcripts. You had to have every single school you ever attended and a transcript of that. The good news is the board now realizes that's way too much paperwork for them to deal with. And the school, being us, PIMA, has already done all that work. So they just have to verify with us that you're graduated. If we screwed up the paperwork, it's on us. But we didn't. Our group's usually pretty good about that. But they just say, you know, you just have to verify that you were at a PTA school, right? None of us are foreign educated PTAs, so you don't have to worry about that portion of it, anything like that. And also for those of you that were foreign educated, maybe you went to high school in, you know, Japan, or you went to high school in Korea or something like that. You used to have to go all the way back to them to get a transcript from that high school, which then delayed your application process. You don't have to do that at all. You'll go through, you'll list your physical therapy experience, including all your clinical affiliations, right? Answer all the questions listed. This is where things get a little bit, the gray area is not a good way of saying it. This is where things get a little bit hinky is a good way of saying it. If you have any arrests, convictions, felonies, stuff like that, you will have to speak to the board about that. I can't tell you how that's going to affect your application. You know, we've had some students before that may have had, you know, 7-10 years ago, they had a DUI felony conviction. And that's still on their record, obviously, because most of the time, you know, your record is your record for life. So always think about that. And they haven't had it, you know, there's no way to get it off most times. I mean, there are ways to pay to get it off, but that's beside the point. So they've had to talk to the board and say, hey, 10 years ago, I had this felony conviction. What do I need to do? In most cases, the board just wants you to contact them about it, unless it's something recent. If last year you had a felony abuse of elders charge, yeah, you're probably going to have to go meet with the president of the board and the executor of the board just to explain what you've done since then to rehabilitate yourself. I'm not saying anyone here has that, but that would be an example. So just be aware that if you do have some sort of a felony interest or a felony conviction or anything like that, it will pop up on your background check. There's no way getting around it. And the worst thing you could possibly do is say, no, I have no felony convictions or anything like that. And then they get your criminal background check and it's like ping, 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 ping. So be aware of that. That is really important. And then you'll have to complete a photograph taken within the last 60 days. It's supposed to be a 2x2, no larger than 3x3, which if you look at that, a passport photo works best. So if you are one of those photo people that can do this really perfectly, take it with a white background or a neutral background, like a cream color background. Don't have like fancy lights behind you like my office. It has to be a very neutral kind of background. The other thing I can suggest if you want to get this done is like CVS or Walgreens or any of those type places have the option to go and just get a passport photo, and that'll work as well. Everyone's got camera 10 times better than what I ever saw growing up in our pockets now. But sometimes it's just, I know I did that when I filled out my application. When I filled out my application, I just took and went to Walgreens and got my photo taken because I'm not exactly the best photographer in the world.
Kelly had found a place that did like the passport type of photos, and they had like everything that we needed in one.
And the fingerprinting probably in that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, they had notary, they have passport, and they have the fingerprinting. You can get the hard copy and the digital copy will send automatically to the board.
It Fingerprinting Pros?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Fingerprinting Pros, that's what I was going to say too, is I think Fingerprinting Pros does it. So I'll type it into the chat here. There's a couple different locations in the Valley as well. So, and usually I believe that is the one they mention in the application here. So, so there's only, if you notice here, it says transfer your physical therapy examination score. You do not have to worry about that because that will be once you test. That's something if like Dr. O'Neill or I were just moving into town, we'd have to transfer our score. Please be aware that you make sure that you write clearly or type clearly on your application, because it would be really embarrassing for you to like have Emily and spell it Elimy and you misspelled it and now your license is spelled that way. So make sure you spell out everything nice and clear so they know how they want your application. And the other thing is make sure that you check everything before you send anything to anywhere. Just double check it. If you want me to go through it with you, or if you want Dr. O'Neill to go through it with you, contact us. We'll sit down and kind of walk through it real quick with you if we want to make sure that you've hit everything. Obviously set in advance. Don't be like, well, why isn't Mr. McKeever or Dr. O'Neill sitting down with me at 6 o'clock in the morning? Contact us. We'll kind of set aside a time we can meet with you and look it over. We're not the best at it either, but understand that if you want us to look it over, we can try to help you out. Still, the jurisprudence exam right now is a paper exam. So get it done as soon as you can before we convert it to digital. They're meeting about that this month to convert it to a digital exam, but it'll still take about 6 months to get converted over to it. So you guys should be good for the most part with it, and even the October tests. There is one section on what to complete in Notary Public, and we'll talk about it. So here's the fingerprinting. There are specific forms for the fingerprinting. You do need those forms. That packet is on this link. I also posted it in PTA209. I have that packet posted for you in my original thing. And what I'll do is I'll probably also just copy and paste that over to PTA209 as well, that whole folder that I had set up for you. in case PTA208 for whatever reason is not accessible. If you have any other healthcare licenses, such as CNA, there we go. I was going to say CPA. That's a different type of license. CNA. If you're a PT, if you have a phlebotomy license, if you have a massage therapy license, anything in allied health, you do have to do a license verification form for that. And you will probably have to pay your board a little fee for that. So like Tyler, I'm thinking still has his LMT. I think there's somebody who has a CNA. I don't remember who it was. Kaylee, I think has a CNA. I thought maybe she doesn't. But you still have to complete a license verification just because they want to make sure that there's no charges on your license when you get a new license. The transcripts will be handled by us. Actually, so I think your official grad date is it next week? I think it's next week or this week. I forget what the official grad date is off the top of my head. But we will get on the registrar here at campus. Dr. O'Neill and I will kind of keep her on track. And we will have her send over a temporary transcript so that they have the temporary transcripts and then the final transcripts once they are processed. So we will send those over. It does take about a week or 2 weeks to get the official transcripts done at Pima. Obviously, it's pretty much every school, but we can send over a temporary transcript in the meantime. So we'll work on that. I'm going to actually write that down so I don't forget about it, because that's one of the things I usually do forget about, but I'll write that down. We'll make sure those are sent over. The main thing is you can't be licensed until you complete that. And then the jurisprudence exam will hit here in a little bit. This walks you through registering to sit. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So I'm just going to skip over that in a few here. If you want to get what's called a graduate status, we'll talk about that in a little bit here. So here's everything you're going to fill out. You're going to go down through here, put all your information on, put your mailing address on, your email address. Are you a citizen? This just looks like any other application you fill out for pretty much anything.
Mr. McKeever?
Yep.
I have a question.
Yes.
About the place of birth. I mean, it says their city and state. Like, I wasn't born here.
No, if you've got for example, say you lived in Denmark and you were born in Obenro province in Denmark, that would be enough to put down.
Oh, okay. So I could just put Philippines then?
Well, yeah, you just put the province. I think there's still provinces in the Philippines, if I remember correctly, isn't there?
City. But yeah, provinces.
Yeah, I forget what they're called there. Sorry, that's my ignorance. I apologize. But yeah, just put like the province and then Philippines is what they're looking for. They're not going to go verify if you were born there. They just mainly want that to be down there. You know, kind of whatever you listed on your application for us as well, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
And then here's for your education, PT or PTA. You do have to list a current employer or recent employer. Doesn't have to be current if you're not actively employed. But if your most recent employer, here's where you're going to put all your physical therapy experience. So this is where you're going to put all 3 of your clinicals, right? You should have filled this all out for Dr. Ovreskin, so you should have all this. And type is just talking about what type of clinic was it? Was it inpatient? Was it outpatient? Was it SNF? Was it rehab? Was it long-term acute care? Stuff like that.
Okay, another one.
Yep, that's what I'm here for.
For the current employer, you said we don't have to put anything if we're not currently employed?
I would put your most recent.
Okay, even though we're not working at that job, but
I would just put what I would do is, you know, if I was I was like Disneyland, right? And then maybe put previous or, last current, most current, stuff like that. They're not going to check it again. The main thing is this box has to be filled in. I'm going to tell you that's the most important part of the whole application is just making sure your boxes are filled in, if that makes sense. No problem, Dr. O'Neill. And again, it'll be recorded if you have any questions. Oh, why am I saying if you have any questions? Oh my God, that was silly. Dr. O'Neill has any questions about filling out our PTA application? That's hilarious that I didn't even think about that. Good. It's a Hollywood Dead song. You can hear me now. Have you taken the application without receiving a passing score? No, you haven't yet, right? But if you were somebody that did, you would have to indicate this, because sometimes we have had people that will state hop. So maybe they failed their test in 2 different states, and now they're, say like in Arizona, and the Arizona board says, you know, Arizona board may have some rule in it that says if you failed twice, you have to appear before the board. And so they say, well, rather than doing that, I'm going to hop state lines and go take my test over in Nevada. You still have to indicate if you had failed it previously. None of you have failed it previously, so you don't have to worry about it. And this is where you would list any of your previous healthcare licenses. So like, you know, you might put licensed massage therapist 11712 or something like that if you had a previous healthcare license. You do have to list if you're subject to child support. And I don't know anything about what the rules are with regards to that, because I've never been subject to child support, because God forbid, the world's not ready for more than one of me. So I'm not subject to child support. If you've ever been denied an application or placed on limited probation, that's important as well. Yeah, not certificates. Unless you're talking something like phlebotomy certificate.
No, dental.
So you're a dental assistant?
Yeah. But I didn't go full.
Then no.
License, just certificate.
Yeah, no, you don't have to put it, only if you've worked in a dental office like that. How's that? Does that make sense? And you were if you're licensed to work is what I'm saying. So yes, if you have a license, not certificate, you are correct.
Okay.
I had to think about that one for a few seconds. My brain is a little slow this morning. Were you ever reprimanded or fined? None of you should have that. Is there any action pending? None of you should have that. So this is an important thing here. Have you ever been noted to have a problem with alcohol or drugs, or diagnosed by treated for addiction? I have a little bit of problem with these questions, but these are still on the board application and I disagree with them. But this should be something that you should disclose to the board, not necessarily on an application, but what do I know? So just fill these out legitimately. Have you ever been arrested for a violation of federal, state, or municipal ordinance, meaning you have a felony, right? Have you ever been charged with federal, municipal, or have you ever been charged? Have you ever been convicted, right? So this is all asking. Do you have charges out there? Have you ever been diagnosed, treated, or hospitalized for a psychiatric, mental condition, or health condition? Again, another one I don't totally agree with, but they have to this on the application. And then have you ever been diagnosed as having physical or mental condition or result in you not being able to practice essential jobs? If you had that, you wouldn't be able to go through the program. So you're fine, because we have to check that as well before you come into the program. So this should be the part where you put your photo, right? Do not staple it. Do not glue it. What I did with mine is I just took some Scotch tape and I Scotch taped it to that little square there, because I think this eventually goes on your record. I think they have to pull it off to scan it. And I know that if you glue it to it, they get a little angry with you. Height, weight, eye color, if you have any identifying marks, I've got I've got Goku going down my right arm or something like that. Put that on there. Got your application fees, right? So these fees here, this licensing fee, this is going to be paid to the physical therapy board. Okay. What does that mean? That means when you've sent in your application, you are going to have to pay that. This goes to the Fsbpt. You do not send that to the boards. So this here will take care of electronically. This has to go to the board. Did I know? And actually, this has to be updated. These are the wrong. I told them twice already. These are the wrong fees. But again, takes a little bit to change things in a bureaucracy. So, like I said, this is important to know, but cross that out, because you're not going to send anything in there. Well, don't cross it out. That probably mess up your application. They probably deny your application for whatever reason. But you don't have to worry about sending that in. This stuff is what you have to send in. And then I want to say, just to let you know, renewal for a PTA is $150. So every year you're going to pay $150 renewal. Now, the nice part is most of the times if you're working in a clinic or, you're lucky enough to teach beautiful young minds like you guys, most of your employers will usually cover your licensing fee. So because it's in their best interest for you to be licensed. So that means get a job so you don't have to pay it next year.
For the board, do we have to pretty much send it to them as soon as we can?
Yeah, when you send the application, you're going to have to pay it. And I think they have a section there where you can put your credit card if you want to pay by credit card. I forget, we'll get down through that. This is their newest application, so I'm learning a little bit as we go through it with you as well.
So do you know how much is it currently?
This fee for them is correct.
Oh, okay.
This fee is not.
Oh, okay.
Their fee is correct. And if it's not correct, that's on them because this is their application. That's kind of where I'm going with it. So this is kind of their thing. This is their complete all stuff. This is where here, I forgot to mention this. Make sure you write your name here, right? You don't want to have your name listed as I am Pokeface McCharmander, right? That's not a real name. Oh, that sounds like a really good name. Maybe I should change my name to it. Pokeface McCharmander. Right, that's where you're going to put the name that you want on your license. The main thing there is if you are AJ, who is his $493 is the regular price, exactly, Adrian, the Fsbpt price, yeah. If you're AJ and you wanted your license listed as AJ instead of Andrew, well, $485 plus the 1.6% fee. That's where the $493 comes from. But say you wanted your license to be listed AJ Horn instead of Andrew Horn. This would be where you'd put what you want your license to stay. I was just kind of plain Jane, and I just made sure it was listed exactly like my legal name is, just because I was always worried about something being screwy. So I just left it legal. I really wanted to say Pokey McPokeyface or something like that, but they wouldn't let me have that. Hi, I'm your physical therapist assistant, Pokey McPokeyface. This part here is that affidavit. This affidavit has to be sworn in front of a notary public. Do not, and I'm going to repeat this, do not fill this sheet out until you are in front of a notary public. Because if you do, they will remake you, get a new form, bring it to them, fill it out in front of them. So this form, do not fill out until you're physically in front of that notary public, because they are verifying and saying that, yes, you are who you are when they sign it, because they're going to come down here and seal it. And Kelly said, the Fingerprinting Pros does that. I am a member of the UPS store. And so I at least my store offers me 2 free notarizations per year. So I went to the UPS store. If we make a mistake on the form, can we cross out initial? I don't know the specific rules for notary, Emily. What I did just to be safe is I took 2 blank forms.
Okay, smart. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my way of doing it, because I was invariably I did. I went up here, and for whatever reason with name, I automatically put my last name, first name, and the notary got really kind of finicky about that, and she's like, no, it has to be first name, last name. So I brought a second form.
The rest of the application, it's so long, I feel like if we make one mistake, do we have to do the whole thing over again?
Well, you could also just print out, if it makes it to them, no, usually I just have to fix the sheet that is screwed up.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually. They could theoretically be a pain, but no. And then they'll fill out if you're approved or not. This here is license verification. If you are a previous licensee for again, those the CNA, stuff like that, you have to fill this stuff out. I can help if somebody here needs that help, but you're going to have to basically send this off to your board, and then they'll send a license over to our physical therapy board. This is the graduate status form. So this is a graduate of physical therapy. Where's the graduate of physical therapy assistant? Here it is. Does everyone understand what graduate status means? Does anyone understand what it means? So graduate status allows you to work as a PTA while you get prepared to take your boards. So this would, if you already have, like, say you have a job lined up, you're going to get hired, and you're testing in July. Theoretically, you can have them fill this form out. Your supervising PT states on this form that they will be directly supervising you. So understand, what does direct supervision mean?
On-site.
More than on-site. They are in visual contact of you. Right. So theoretically, even as a graduate, you shouldn't be operating in a room privately or something like that. Obviously, people get away with doing that kind of stuff. I'm not going to give my opinion either here nor there about that, but meaning that the PT can see you in that office. Mainly, that's just saying that they are going to oversee everything you do until you are officially licensed, and puts their onus on their license. You can be a graduate until you fail the boards. I want to say it's 6 months, but I don't remember where it's at on here. And I looked on their site. So this one, if you're interested in this, you may have to contact the board about it. I want to say it's a maximum of 6 months. You can do this. Here we go. Graduate test is effective until complete application is board. Valid until your license, until you fail the examination. Yeah, see, they don't even have that on this. I want to say it's 6 months, but if you fail your boards, and none of you are going to fail your boards, so we don't have to worry about this. But if you were to fail your boards, graduate status would be invalidated. One of the other score builders people that we had coming for, Ryan, had this happen to him. He was sitting for his PT exam. He was working under graduate status. He took his boards. He got a 599. And literally that day that came into the boards called his employer and said, his graduate status has been revoked. You need to pull him from the clinic. Direct supervision. I think it's technically line of sight is what it says now in the NAC. In Pennsylvania, we had direct and indirect. Direct meant they had to be in line of sight of you. Indirect was what you got after 2,000 hours. I'm just used to those type terms. It just made more sense to me. Line of sight's another one they call it. Page 9. Let me get back up to page 9. My mouse is slow. This is only to be completed if you are transferring in, if you have another license. So if you have this is the one, if you're like, oh, I've got a LPN license. That's the only reason you have to fill this one out.
If you're not going to fill it out, do you still have to send it in?
No, you don't have to send in blank pages. No. I mean, I did just because I was still learning and I didn't know anything about Nevada when I was coming here, but you don't have to. You just have to send the ones that are applicable to you. Here is the jurisprudence module. I have to state by the rule that the jurisprudence module, right, is an open book assessment tool that tests the familiarity of applicants with the laws and regulations relevant to the practice of physical therapy in the state of Nevada. The questions cover the provisions of the NRS and the NAC. So notice it does say open book. It's probably immediate then, AJ, I'm sorry. Again, I get confused on which those are. I'm not teaching that class anymore, so I apologize. You're probably immediate is probably the term for it then. Immediate meaning being in the room with you. Right, so you're across the room stretching Miss Millie and he's across the room working with Bob. The main idea is, JJ, is that you cannot work in a clinic unsupervised. Does that make sense? If you're on graduate status, you definitely cannot work unsupervised. So the jurisprudence exam is open book, but notice what it does not say. It does not say it is open neighbor. This is, do not just have a jurisprudence party and get together and fill this out together, right? But you are allowed to go through and do this open book. Same thing, you just go through, put your name in, and then just answer. I think there's 20 questions in here. Honestly, these questions aren't that hard to find. They link to them above. do the 20 questions, 15 questions, or what? How many is it? Scroll. Yes, 20 questions. And then once your 20 questions are done, you hereby attest, you sign and date it that you completed it, and that's it. That is your whole application in a nutshell. So you want to include your jurisprudence module with your application. So once you get all of this kind of filled out, get your notary public done, you get all that stuff filled out, you get all your license transfer forms sent in, right? And with that, when you send that form over to your other jurisdiction, say to the CNA board, you want to include a copy with your application that you sent, so they know that they're waiting on that license to come in for you, that you sent it to them. You're going to fill out all of that jurisprudence module. You're going to put that in the envelope, and then you're going to put your application in there for your fees and stuff like that. I was wrong. I thought they had a credit card sheet here. I think you have to call them to pay via credit card. I will find out about that real quick. I think you may have to call to pay by credit card. I just paid by, these things called checks. They're these things you fill out, and I know your generation doesn't do those too often. But I know that you can pay by credit card. I just don't know how you do it. It doesn't really specify in here. So I will have to find that out for you. I'm not 100% sure. So I put that down to figure out how to pay it. Does that make sense for the application? Are there any general questions on the application?
I have a question, Mr. McKeever.
Yep, that's what I'm here for.
So for the place of birth, should I put where I'm originally from, or should I put what I have my citizenship, which is here? Which one?
You're gonna put where you originally were born.
Okay.
You don't have to put your citizenship where you get your citizenship, just where you were born at.
Okay. And for the address, like I'm gonna be changing my address like a month or so from now. Mm-hmm. But my ID will have my current address, so I will stick with the one on my ID for now.
I would for now, yeah.
And
that would probably be better option, unless, of course, theoretically, you could wait a month and send your application. You'd still be within the window.
Okay.
If you want to get it in right now, then yeah, send it in with the current, and then send an update of address. Send a new form in saying this is my new, I just moved, this is my new address, because it'll keep a file. Basically what Muriel has on her desk is this long list of applicant, this big tray, and your file's in one of those or your file's in that tray. And so then maybe say in a month, you say, hey, you know what, here's my current updated address, blah, blah, blah. You send in a new form, you send in a new address. Yeah, and the address must be updated within oh my gosh, yes, it has to be updated within 30 days of you moving. So theoretically, even if you move, say you move on June 1st, you'd have a whole month to update them. But yeah, I would just, if you're going to do it, get the application in now, send it with the license that you have.
And where I can find the form to update them.
You send in, for you right now, you're just going to send in the same, just going to change the form that you have in here with the updated address in this application.
Okay. Gotcha.
They will fire you 100%. Yeah. And even when you change jobs, if you decide to change employers and don't notify the board, they'll put you on suspension if you don't notify the board that you've changed employers.
Okay.
So they're pretty fanatical about that. And, that's another thing. I can see if there's a separate form for that for you. I don't think there is. I think you just fill out that, change the page, if that makes sense. Because I'm sure they've had this happen before. I'll fine you. Yeah, not fire you, fine you. You're exactly right. And that fine's not cheap. Any other application questions?
Okay, so I just want to verify everything that we need to send.
Sure.
So pages 1 to 8 for new grads is the one that we sent.
That's the primary meat and potatoes, yes.
Okay. So do we staple that together?
Do not staple it. Forgot to mention that. Thank you for asking me that question.
Okay, so now
put a paper clip on it.
Paper clip, gotcha. 9, 10, and 11. We don't have to fill out. We just have to take it out or not put it in.
Yeah. So 9 is the license in another jurisdiction, right? Yes.
Yeah,
then these are unless you're planning on doing the graduate status. No, you definitely don't have to do 10 because 10 is physical therapist graduate status. You can pull that one out 100%. Mm-hmm. And then 11 is only if you're going to do graduate status at a site.
Okay. And then for the jurisprudence
Yep.
assessment, that's
the jam.
like,
It's your jam.
That's on like another paperclip.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just put that at the back of my packet.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as it's there with your packet, you're good.
Okay.
You got it. You got the idea. And like I said, I'll find out about how, if they do credit cards, how they do it. Anything else about the packet? Did that help going through that? I hope. It's about as clear as mud, right?
Yeah.
And you'll find really quickly that, especially if you're like somebody like me that's had multiple licenses in multiple states, every jurisdiction is so different on the way they do things. Yes, yours is an Associates of Occupational Science. I think. Is that right, Dr. O'Neill? I think that's what it's called. Sounds about right. Occupational Associates. That's what it's called. You're right. Yeah. And remember, it's a physical therapist assistant, not physical therapy assistant. You are a physical therapist. You assist physical therapists, not physical therapy. Man, if you were assisting all of physical therapy, you better be getting paid. You're helping your physical therapist. So about that good? That looks okay? And if there are any individual people, yeah, I don't think I would not drop it off because I don't think they have a drop box over there like Dr. O'Neill said. I would just mail it just to be safe. And one of the things I'll say is keep a copy for your own records. That's one of the things you'll find that this is something that's really good for pretty much the rest of your life. If you're sending something into somewhere, keep a copy for your own records. Because that way, if God forbid, Capital One says, well, you never sent your application into us, you can say, well, I've got an extra copy here. I can send a new copy to you. The only thing you can't really copy is that that's the page done by the notary, because you can't do that. That's okay. Is that on the application or more private? Okay, I'll talk to you about that at the end then. Not a problem. All right. So does that about as clear as mud? We good?
Last question.
Yes.
For the physical therapy experience, like the position, do we just put SPTA?
Yes, PTA was your title. Yes.
Oh, PTA? No.
SPTA.
Okay.
That was your title, Student Physical Therapist Assistant, right?
Yeah.
That one's an easy one. I can answer that one without any difficulty. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this real quick. So stop share. Let me get the other thing brought up here because I made you guys something. All right. So after consulting a little bit with Score Builders and consulting with the guy from PT Final a little bit, I've put together a study schedule for you guys. Now, the only thing I didn't include are the specific requirements for you guys. And we were going to put one together. I remember I said I was going to put one together for you guys while you're on clinics. Well, unfortunately, we got into clinics and some of you needed some heavy focus on clinics. And Dr. O'Neill and Dr. Reskin made the decision that, you guys needed to focus on clinics while you're out there. Some of you were really overwhelmed. Absolutely, Justin. So we decided, you know what? Yeah, let's just let you get through your clinics and we'll worry about this. You still have plenty of time to prepare. So this is the July testers. I will also make one that's a little bit more long-term for the October testers. So this is just for July testers. If you're an October tester, I'm still working on that calendar. That takes a little bit more time to kind of make a longer calendar. This prints on one sheet of paper for you. And actually I just realized got the wrong fee up there. So I'll change that before I give you the new one.
I have a question real quick.
Yes.
So if we're not sure like where if we want to test in July or October, can we potentially like stick with this study guide, see where we're at, take a PETE test, and then depending on how we score there, say like no, put off till October?
Yeah. And that's what I was going to, I actually have dates on here to show when you can change and when you, if you have to change dates and stuff like that, how that works. So, you know, we'll talk all about that kind of here. Let's see here.
And then we can pay for extra PETs. Like we can pay to get as many PET exams as we want,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna have to, well, not as many, but we'll talk about that in a second, actually. So that's a good question. I was gonna cover that specifically anyway. So
okay, cool.
We'll talk not as many because there's only so many PETs that they have available, if that makes sense. Okay. I mean, you can pay for it as many times as you want, but there's only so many of them that are available.
Okay. So
if you notice, the first thing I have on that calendar is this review session that we're doing right now. So, you know, the only thing I said I don't have on here is anything required for Dr. O'Neill's class here. So that is, she already gave you a kind of objective, what you have to complete for that. What I have on here is kind of going forward. So I did not put anything specific in this week because you're filling stuff out, you're completing stuff for the school, stuff like that. Starting next week, the ideal goal is to start reviewing neuro. And I'll talk about how to review this stuff. Don't freak out about that yet. And I'm going to show you over here on this far side over here, there is a neuro content exam. I'm going to show you how to set up a neuro content exam so that you're just taking a preview quiz on how to do neuro questions themselves, not necessarily, you know, everything. Hold on one second. So we'll show how to do those neuro content exams. We'll talk about how to do a diseases or a patho content exam. I'll walk you through how to set those up. I have set up every 2 weeks a review session, just like this that we'll do on Zoom. If we need other ones, that's fine. We can work on it. I just set up right now an every 2 week session. The only thing I will ask about those review sessions is if there's like, say you're studying neuro and patho here and there's something content-wise you're not getting. Like say you're studying neuro and you're like, man, pediatric reflexes are just not my jam. They're not sticking in my head. Let us know, email us real quick and say, hey, got some questions on pediatric reflexes. Can you review them for us? Because that way it gives me, and if I bring Dr. O'Neill in or I bring Dr. Ovreskin or I bring Dr. Sokel in for help, gives us a little bit of time to prep. Like definitely I'll be leaning on Dr. O'Neill for the cardiopulmonary review. So I'll bring her in for that a little bit, right? But, you know, musculoskeletal, both Dr. Ovreskin and Dr. Sokel, you know, have worked in outpatient clinics probably more than me. So I'll definitely bring them in for some help on those musculoskeles. And then I put about every 2 weeks doing a big exam. So I put, you know, here's 2 weeks, here's a full exam, here's 2 weeks. This is those full 150s. So the number one question I usually get from students is, do I have to do what you tell me to do on these days? I can no longer, once you are graduated, I can no longer force you to do anything. But what I will say is, if you work the plan works. So let's say you can't do a score builders exam on 5/29, but you can do it on 5/30. Okay, do it, right? Where things start falling apart and the wheels fall off is when students just start kind of freewheeling it. And they break out their score builders book, or they break out their therapy ed book, or they break out, I don't know, their patho book, and they just sit there and stare at the patho book for 8 hours. That's where the wheels start falling off. You know, or worse yet, instead of, you know, studying at all, you just decide that I'm going to go stream Call of Duty for 8 hours, right? That's where the wheels fall off. You need to make sure that you kind of stick to a fairly rigid study plan. Now, does that mean that, you know, you get down here to genitourinary and you look it over and you're like, man, I don't really need to review much of this. And you go, yeah, I got it. I'm good. You know, I'd rather take this day here for an extra cardio day. No, that's fine. I got a question. So I'm going to talk about the hours in a second. So this is just for a week, Kelly. I'm going to talk about an average of what you should be studying per week. So what I do is I put it on the whole week so that if you want to spread it out over the whole week, or if you want to concentrate it, you know, Monday to Friday, however you do it. We'll talk about kind of hours of studying here in a little bit. But this just kind of goes through the basics of a study plan, right? I do have a couple of dates listed on here. Like I have the date here for June 1st. That is the absolute last day you have to register for the July test. So let's say you don't want to, you're like, I don't know if I want to test in July or if I want to test in October. You have till July or till June 1st to register for the July exam, with a caveat. Remember that it's not only you sitting for this exam. So if you wait till the 1st, there's a possibility that there may be no seats in Las Vegas and you may have to go to Kingman, or you may have to go to, oh my God, I can't think of what the city is in St. George. There we go. Because there is only one Prometric testing center in Las Vegas. Now, you could also pay for your licensing, pay for your July test, and there are certain dates coming up, which I'll talk about. So that's the last day to register. But let's say you decide, I'm going to register. That's just the way it is. I'm going to test in July. And we get to June 1st and you're like, oh my God, I am not ready. Well, you have until June 3rd, if you've pre-registered for the exam, to reschedule your exam with Prometric, so to move it to October with no fee. So that's no additional fee. Your fees and everything you already paid will just stay where they are. They'll just say, you know, Dr. O'Neill, you decided to move your date from July 6th to October 10th, and they'll just move you. Right? That means that's the last day of avoiding fees, which is kind of the important day to know. So that's why I put that June 3rd there. If you look at this, down here is the day that the FSPT will reserve your seats. That means the boards have until then to get your information to them. It usually doesn't take that long. But that's kind of the day that the boards have as their last day they have to do stuff. You technically have until June 30th to reschedule without having a large fee. So let's say we get to like June 24th, and God forbid, you know, because we had this the last couple tests, you get COVID, right? You shouldn't, because all of you should get vaccinated, but say you get COVID, or maybe your family members get COVID or something like that happens. And you're like, man, the amount of stress I'm under right now is just too much. There's no way I'm going to be able to set for the boards in 2 weeks. From June 3rd all the way down here to June 30th, if you reschedule, there is just a $50 fee. So you don't lose any of your $485. You don't lose any of your Prometric $85 seat fee. The only thing you lose is you have to pay an extra $50. And here's what I will say about that. Paying the extra $50 is worth not losing all of your money for your boards. I'm gonna fix this. I noticed I have to fix the top part, Erica, so I'll post it for you guys. I just literally finished this last night, because I was still editing through stuff, and I sent it over to Dr. O'Neill and Dr. Reskin and Dr. Soka to look at. So I was still editing it a little bit yesterday, and I've got to change that one part at the very top. So I will get it to you guys. I just didn't finish it until late. Like I said, yeah, you know, and please understand from our standpoint, you know, from the PTA faculty standpoint, there is no shame in rescheduling. There's actually no shame in anything. I mean, I may pick on you a little. No, I don't pick on you. There is no shame in rescheduling. If you get down there to that June 23rd and you're like, Mr. McKeever, I'm just not ready. I'm freaking out. You know, you and I will sit down and have a little heart to heart. We'll look at your scores. Sometimes you get to that point and you just get butterflies. And I'm looking at your test going, man, you're scoring 800s on your practice exams. What are you talking about? You're not ready. You're more ready than I was. And it may just be a pep talk. But, you know, I'm going to respect your wishes. You come to me and say, I'm not ready to test in July. I really need to put it off. I'm rescheduling. I'm going to support your decision. Dr. O'Neill and I will both support your decisions. And then we regroup, we reorganize, and we get ready for October. Right? Understand there is a little bit of mental whiplash if you take the boards and you fail them. Right? That's the main thing you've got to be thinking about. You know, I know a lot of you in here, and I know how hard you take your scores and how hard you take your grades. And I know how much it would hit you if you thought, well, I'm not ready, but I'm going to test anyway. And then you end up having a failure or something like that. That will kill some of you emotionally. And I don't want that to happen. If you come to me and say, Mr. McKeever, I'm not ready, I'm going to support you. We're going to look through things, but I'm going to support your decision. I think pretty much most of you should be able to get ready by July, but some of you just feel that you need a little extra time. I'm okay with that. Dr. O'Neill's okay with that. We'd rather have you pass the first time, right? You know, I've got vested interest in you guys passing. That is why I will keep on you for the next how many ever months it takes you to pass. Ask some of the group that still haven't passed. They don't escape me. I keep coming back. I'm like a bad penny. I just keep popping back up, right? So if it comes to that and you need to reschedule, do it. Now, here's the good news. Let's say you get down here, right? And, you know, it's I don't have that date on here. I want to say it's this. I didn't put this on here, but let's say we get to July 3rd, because I know it's 4 days before the exam. So that would be 4 days, right? 1, 2, 3, July 2nd. We get to July 2nd and you're freaking out. You're completely overwhelmed. Mr. McKeever, I'm not ready. I'm scoring 400 on my practice exams. I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready. You can reschedule up to that date. I don't recommend it because at that point, your brain's already fried. But you can reschedule. It's going to cost you a full reseat fee. So you're going to lose that $85 seat fee paid plus pay an additional $85 seat fee. I didn't put that on here because most people, if we're going to reschedule, I want you to reschedule by this date so I can save you as much money as possible. I'm trying to be as fiscally responsible with you guys as I would hope you would be if I was the person, right? So this is the basic calendars. Now I have different content. We'll talk about the content as we go down through. I have my MPTA review sessions on there. The other thing I put on here is, as Dr. O'Neill has previously said, and as Tima is so, I don't say politely, it's not the word I want to use, so fantastically providing for you, starting on June 14th, which is about 3 weeks before your boards, we will be paying for your the PT final exam crash course for you. So for Dr. O'Neill, I'm giving her a round of applause because it's her credit card, not mine. We will provide you with the PT final exam review course. The review course is a 3-week crash course review course. You'll see that it starts with musculoskeletal, moves on to neuromuscular, and then goes to cardiopulm, the 3 main areas of your boards. They have 4 sessions per week. They are recorded. But here's what I have found just looking at the last group of testers. Those that attended the sessions in person, all 4 of them passed their boards. Those that decided to miss a few of them were the ones that may not have. Those that followed my plan and came to our appointments and came to study sessions and stuff like that passed the boards. Those that vanish typically don't. I'm not saying that Dr. O'Neill and I are wonder twins and we fix everything and you will pass your boards because of us. I'm just saying there's a certain amount of gravitas to being held accountable to being there, right? If we're constantly in your face a little bit, you're more likely to pay attention, right? When I was playing football back in the day, if my coach was never on the field during practice, I'm pretty confident we would have never practiced anything, right? We were high school kids. You know, with us him being in my face, accountability as a team, exactly, right? And also equally keeping yourselves accountable. You know, if Adrian notices that Kelly's slacking a little bit on her study, absolutely. Get on him. Get on her. Say, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on? And Kelly's like, leave me alone. I'm crammed. This is a schedule. I'm going to give this to you guys. So, I know it's not going to happen. I'm just using it. I figured you were the least going to get mad at me for saying, if I said that about Clarice again, she was going to throw something at me. Virtually, obviously, or real. I'm not sure. Maybe she can hit me in Tucson.
What?
Nothing. So their schedule starts on June 14th. If you look, their sessions are evening sessions, right? They're at 5:30. Again, they are recorded, but I'm going to say this again, except for the weekend. I'm going to say this again. If you attend them, there's a bit more of accountability there. Same thing with the weekend. Now, this is the bad part because PT final, unless they change this, it was 6 a.m. our time because they set it for East Coast 9 a.m. I'm going to have to check that because I think he changed that after the last group and it hasn't updated his calendar. If that's different, I will change that on the calendar and update it for you guys. Because I was getting up at 6 o'clock to attend some of those sessions, a little rough for me even. But that's kind of the general idea of how to go through this. And again, we are providing you with as much resources as we possibly can. We're also going to provide, and if I speak out of turn here, please tell me, Dr. O'Neill, we're also going to provide you with 2 academic PEATs, which are the practice entrance assessment testing, I think it's called.
We won't be doing the PEATs this time for them.
Okay, so we won't. That's why I want to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and part of it is because, as we recall, they weren't as what's the word? They weren't as useful in the information. Students decided to do what they wanted to do with them, and so I felt like if they pay for it, they tend to.
I was going to agree with you on that, but I thought initially we were doing that. So yes, we will not pay for the PEATs, but. Let me also caveat that. So there are 2 different PEATs, and somebody asked about the PEATs, so I want to cover that right now. There are 2. Oh, I got chat. So she's expecting that you will attend it. Thank God. Okay. So I want to say they're an hour and a half or 2 hours. Don't quote me on that. I have to double check, Emily. I know that the Sunday one or the Saturday one was 2 hours because I attended those.
Saturday one I'm not concerned about, but during the week I teach CPR at 7, so I'd be able to attend like the first hour of it live.
Well, even attending the first hour of it is better than not attending any of it.
And then I can watch the rest of it later.
Right. I'm just saying, even attending and even any of that is better than just not showing up at all. Okay. Because I will say this, or Dr. Crane, who I joke all the time is a scarecrow, Dr. Crane from Batman, ha ha ha. He's a really, really smart dude, and all of his employees are really, really smart dudes. It seems like the people that he has a guy that's from Australia that it seemed like everyone loved him just because of his accent. It's an accent. Congratulations. But it seemed like everyone was paying attention when that guy was talking, which was kind of funny. Dr. Crane was like, wait, what about me? I'm like chopped liver over here. So they're really great. I really support their company. Again, we are not getting any kickbacks from any of this. Please understand. I want to stress that we are not getting any kickbacks from any of this. Any of the review products that are out there are great products. We just chose to partner with them because we've seen some results from this. We want to give you guys the best options. So let me just close the calendar here real quick so I can get a whiteboard brought up real quick.
I had a quick question real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I know. So like if we want to follow this study plan of what the dates that you have set up, I know Dr. O'Neill has us turning in one of the score builders or therapy eds on May 10th. To add it on there. So I know you said you want to do it every 2 weeks, so just incorporate that one on May 10th and then follow.
Oh, yes. So if you need to, just incorporate that on the first one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And again, I'm going to show you how to also kind of make some custom exams too, in case you want to do that. So I'm going to show you that, but I just want to talk about the PEAT here. So I want to bring up a whiteboard real quick, just so I can draw. All right. So the PEAT is from the Fsbpt. So the PEAT is scored exactly like your national exam will be. So it'll be on a scale from 200 to 800. One of the things Dr. O'Neill said here, and I agree with her wholeheartedly, is it seems like when we provide the PEAT, for whatever reason, students just choose not to use it. There is something to be said about our own financial input in it. So the PEAT has 2 different versions. There is the consumer PEAT. Consumer. And then there is the academic PEAT. Each of those versions, that is an M, honest, I promise. Each of those versions has 2 tests in it. So overall, this is from the Fsbpt, right? The Federation of State Board of Physical Therapists. They're the group that kind of oversees licensing. Overall, the Fsbpt has 4 total practice exams that are in addition to whatever else you have. There's the academic PEATs and the consumer PEATs. There are 2 different tests So the academic PETs are not the same as the consumer PETs. The consumer PETs are not the same test as the academic PETs. So a total of 4 different total exams. In each one of these, those 2 exams are called the PET and the repeat. So I like to throw in a little bit of joke here, guys. If 2 brothers, Pete and repeat, are out fishing and Pete falls out of the boat, who's left? Repeat. Well, I already said that. If Pete and repeat are out fishing, no. Okay, fine. It's not as fun if you guys aren't live. You get it? I repeat the joke. Ha, 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 ha. Okay, fine. Whatever. No one's laughing. It's a dead audience. Okay, like Javen and Emily laughed. I'm appreciating. You have to use that on your kids. That's who it works best on. No. So the Pete and repeat. What these are is the Pete itself on both of these. The Pete are questions that weren't quite good enough to be on the board, but are very close to board questions. So as test writers, when we write questions for the boards, if I was to be that person, we write questions, and literally to get one question approved from the board, it takes about 9 months. So I'll write the question out, I'll send it into the reviewers, and they have a bunch of psychometricians, which are psychologists that look at numbers. Just imagine how much fun that job is. And they look at this question and go, well, this is worded okay, but you really should change this. And the answers are a little off, so you want to change this answer. Say, send it back to me. I change those. They send it back. I send it back to them. They're like, yeah, well, now you got to fix this one. And so that back and forth for about 9 months. And at about 9 months, they'll say, okay, this question is good to go on the actual national boards, or they'll go, it's still not perfect, but it's really good for a Pete. And so those questions will go that way. One will go to the boards, one may go to the Pete. So those are questions not quite good enough. So the Pete is the questions that are not quite 100% good enough to go on the boards, but they are super close. The repeat, stands for retired. That's what you do if you get a flat and you go to a repair shop. They retire your car, right? Retired Pete questions. So these are questions that were already on. I skimmed right over that. These are questions that were originally on the boards that have now retired from the boards, meaning they are no longer up there. They've been cycled through, and I want to say it's 500 times they get cycled through. Don't quote me on that. But so they were physical questions on the boards. When students take these, this is usually the easier of the two. This is usually the harder of the two. Well, that makes sense. The repeat is retired questions. It's usually going to be a little bit harder. They usually list these as Form A and Form B. But it says retired or regular Pete on them. So why do I say this? Well, because there's a cost, right? So the cost, whether it's academic or consumer, is $99. It's a lot of money. I know it was a lot of money for me when I was going through, because I was, broke as a joke and didn't have a lot of cash. But I did invest in this because my instructors instilled in me that this was a good resource for me, because it definitely showed me when I got really close to those boards, if I was ready or not. So each of these, if you want the consumer, it's $99. If you want the academic, it's $99. The academic can only be bought through Dr. O'Neill or myself, meaning you can't just go buy the academic yourself. You have to come to us because we have special access to buy it. We have to buy you a key. The academic is meant as a school resource, but we can buy just one. If you decide you just want it, we can just buy one of them. That's possible. We just have to, it gets tied to you. The consumer, you can go right now if you wanted to and buy the consumer Pete on your own. If this isn't of interest, and this is something I will leave to the class president to discuss with the rest of them, you guys, if you guys want this academic Pete, and I'm going to stress this is extremely important and was really good and beneficial for you guys. If we order 10 or more, we can get a discount. I want to say the discount is 25%, 20%. I have to look at it again. I just looked at it last night and it slipped my brain already. It's either 20 or 25%. I can't remember which. So it's either like $80 or $75. I can't remember which off the top of my head. You get a discount if you buy in groups of 10 or more. That would mean that one of you guys would have to come and meet with me. You would have to pay us. We would purchase the groups and it'll send out the keys to everyone that purchased it. I am not gonna, so here's by the way the things work, we cannot necessarily 100% say, you have to buy both of these, you have to buy this. I am going to, in my most stringent martial arts instructor voice, say that I would take these definitely, because they definitely give you an idea of where you're going. They will give you a score that is exactly like your boards. And, if you take the PEAT or the repeat and you get a 545, the likelihood of you getting a 545 on your boards is pretty high. If you take the PEAT, no. So the next question I get is, well, Mr. McKeever, have you ever seen somebody that's taken the PEAT and gotten a 500 and passed their boards? I'm going to say no, because I haven't. I have seen somebody that didn't take the PEATs and pass their boards. Yes, I've seen that, but it's pretty rare and in between. So I just want to stress that. But yeah, you can buy up to 4 total PEATs practice exams. So you have 3 practice exams right now from your Score Builders book, right? If you bought the Therapy Ed book, you have 3 practice exams there. If, God forbid, you're one of those neurotic people that need more practice exams, you can buy the PEAT and the 2 PEATs from both academic and from consumer PEAT. PT Final, which is the company we're partnering with for that crash course, also has a packet of practice exams if you want to purchase from them as well. You can also purchase additional practice exams from both Score Builders and from Therapy Ed if you want additional practice exams. Just understand, the more money you put in, you better be putting your time in as well, because don't just blow your money because you have it laying around. I know we all are millionaires and we all live in 300,000 square foot houses, but just don't blow your money to blow it. Does that make sense to everybody?
So when you purchase it, each one comes with a PEAT and a repeat.
Yes. So if you purchase the academic, you get a PEAT and a repeat. If you purchase consumer, you get a PEAT and a repeat.
What's the quick breakdown difference between academic and consumer?
There's no difference. It's just different questions.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no, again, it's just a whole series of different questions. And so it's basically, so each of those have 150 questions on them. So there's 300 questions for the academic and 300 for the consumer, if that makes sense. That's about it.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
You would say that the academic is a little bit better than the consumer?
I wouldn't. So what I would say is the academic is the newer. I'm not going to say it's better, because we had students that took the consumer last time that passed. So I wouldn't say that it's better. It's just the academic's just a little bit newer. So these get updated about every year. And the academic was the last one that was updated. I think the consumer gets updated in August, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. Again, it's been a while since I read through all my FSBPT briefs. But does that make sense? So the academic was the last one updated.
Did you have people take the academic that also passed?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I was just saying that don't discount the consumer PEAT is kind of what I'm saying. The questions are still questions from the boards, and trust me, they're not easy. Both of these, real quick, I forgot to mention this. Both of these, after you take the test, you will be able to go through and review the question by question, and it will give you rationale for every answer. So let's say you chose D, but the answer was B. It will tell you why D is the wrong answer and why B is the right answer, sort of like the back of the Score Builders book does. So it's not like you just take this and that's all you get as a number. You actually can go back and review the questions. So I wanted to stress that as well, because I forgot to cover that. Ooh, this is a lot of stuff, isn't it? Good job, Mr. McKeever. Good job putting this together. No, just kidding. Just give myself a pat on the back. I'm going to go back to the calendar now. Let me go back to that calendar. All right. So how long should you study every week for the boards? What do you guys think? How many hours a week?
4 hours a day.
4 hours a day is ideal. That would be perfect. Right. So in 4 hours, about, from when you look at some people, some relevant numbers, they say you ideally want to get about 20 hours minimum a week. The more hours you get, the better prepared you're going to be. So on the bottom scale, I would say 20 hours for the week, absolute bottom scale. On the upper scale, maybe 40 if you can get it, right? This is going to be your full-time job until you get a full-time job. Might as well put a full-time effort into it. But please understand that if you study for 8 hours a day, you're not retaining hardly any of that. If you just sit there and study for 8 hours, your brain will just melt, right? So, if I'm studying, I'm breaking it down. One of the things I highly recommend is when you start out, study smaller chunks, right? So study for an hour and a half, study for an hour, whatever you can get to kind of get yourself there. As you progress and get closer and closer to the test, you should be sitting for longer and longer. Why do you think I'm trying to have you sit for longer and longer as you get closer to the test?
Because boards, we have to sit for long.
Yeah, right. Test day, you're sitting there for 4 hours, right? And I know me, if I'm sitting someplace for 4 hours, I'm like 1 tile, 2 tiles, 3 tiles, right? At about an hour into it, I'm starting to count ceiling tiles. I'm examining why the person beside me has got 3 pink hair clips in, stuff like that, right? So you get that distraction effect in. If you start building your endurance up, right? Sitting for longer and longer, which is why I have you taken a few tests throughout the period, is so that you build up that test-taking endurance. What we usually see in your first time that you take a score builders test or a therapy ed test is we'll see, it breaks it up section 1, section 2, section 3. We'll see section 1, 80%, section 2, 60%, section 3, 30%. Because you're like, oh my God, that was longer than I thought it was. And your brain just kind of starts melting down. That's why we got to build up that test-taking endurance, right? 20 is a minimum. I'm going to stress from my standpoint, I'm one of those weird people that didn't study. But that's only because I know how to take tests. And I'm able to pretty much take a test and get through it. I would never recommend that to anyone. That was the stupidest thing I could have ever done. I studied in school, but when I went to take my test, I just went and took my test because I was already prepared as much as I could be at that point. And I was stupid and didn't think about what happened if I'd failed. That was a bad decision on my part, but at least I passed. So as you're going through this, like I think Emily asked, well, what happens, or Kelly asked, I don't remember which one of the two, what happens if you're like, well, on August 16th, I've got a family gathering and I can't study at all that day. May 5th, 16th. I can't study at all that day. Okay, great. You got a family gathering, just make sure that you hit your study hours for the week, right? If you don't study on one day, maybe double up the next or split it out in the next 2 days. And we know from going to the gym, right? We know this. When you go to the gym and you're going on a regular basis, you tend to keep going to the gym. But you miss that one day going to the gym that you're supposed to be going, and then that next day comes to go to the gym, it's a little bit easier to skip that next day. Because you're like, well, I missed Friday, and yeah, they're all going down to, they're all going down to the bar down on Main Street. Now I'll skip today and I'll study more on Sunday, or I'll go to the gym on Sunday. And then Sunday comes, well, I already missed Thursday and Saturday. What's one more day to miss? And then you just kind of get in this rut where you're not going anymore. Just be aware of that. You got to get your mind on right. So if that happens, get in touch with me and be like, Mr. McKeever, yell at me, please. Get me back. No, I won't yell at you. But get me back on track here. I've gotten off. Can you help me kind of get myself back on track? Right? So please study. That's all I'm going to say. Work your way through it. So when we look at neuro review, what I highly recommend you doing is starting this week here, and maybe the first day you don't study, but what you do is you break out your books you have and you look at, what I did was I looked at the table of contents for each chapter. So I would go to neuro and the score builders, and it has a table of contents. And I'm going down the table of contents and say I'm looking at neuro and it's like neuro anatomy. Oh no, I'm good on that. And I had this method where I would put a star if I was good on it, a minus if I wasn't good on it, and 2 minuses if I was really bad at it. So I went down that whole table of contents. I went neuroanatomy, I'm good. Neuropathology, 2 minuses. You know, neurotreatments, I'm okay, but I want a little review on that. And I kind of gauge what I needed to study. Because just sitting there reading the book's not necessarily going to help you. Does it help some people? Sure. But not everybody, right? I believe, I'm pretty confident on this. If you got your, with the the score builders class you guys took, I think you also got a scratch off on the inside of your book for Basecamp. Was that correct? Was that in your book? That little book she gave you? Yeah, right? Use Basecamp. If you're a more visual learner, Basecamp has videos. For those of you that are like, well, I need videos, there's videos on there, right? For those of you that need Mr. McKeever to yell at you 5 days a week, I can't do that. But we can review. If you need a private study session with one of us, Dr. O'Neill, Dr. Sokel, Dr. Johnson, you know, Dr. Reskin, contact us. We'll set up something for you. You know, if you need Dr. Johnson to review some anatomy with you, you know, he can't obviously do it every single day, but we can probably work something out where he can, or at least I can, because I'm his lab assistant. We want to prep you as best we can. So that comes to the question of what are these content exams you keep talking about here? Well, in the score builders and in the therapy ed, there are ways to take specific content exams. So I'm going to bring that up real quick. Do we need a break? Or do you just want me to power? I've only got a little bit more to go and I'm done. Do you just want to power through? Okay, power through. I got. All right. Let me bring up my therapy or my score builders here real quick. Site. All right, so let me bring this up. So Blackboard changed. That's a great question, AJ. Let me bring this up real quick and I'll answer that. All right, can everyone see my score builders thing there? I think you can. Yeah, it shows it. So PIMA email, I'm pretty confident you have forever. I mean, I think. I know that I've got students from cohort 1 that still email me from it. So I'm assuming you guys keep the PIMA email forever. Blackboard, after I want to say 6 months, gets archived. So that does, just because of the amount of like, you know, with the amount of stuff that like Dr. O'Neill and I put up on our Blackboards, if you have access to that forever, that server down there at Blackboard is just going to keep exploding. Yeah, I mean, I know, like I said, I've still got students from cohort 1 that are emailing me on their PIMA email. So, and I actually just had someone from cohort 4 that forgot his password and I got him access to it. So I guess for a while. So this is logging into the site for score builders, right? It has a tutorial here, how to do it, examinations, performance analysis, Basecamp. This is for score builders. If you want help with therapy ed, if you're one of those people that bought therapy ed, I can walk you through that privately, but I just want to kind of go through score builder since you all have it. Tutorial walks you through it. You have a link to Basecamp here. Here's all their other products down. So these are other products, right? This is what you need to use that scratch off code in your book for that you'd have to register for. What's new has a couple different PDFs in it that are pretty cool. They have some stuff about line management in there. They have some stuff about pediatric reflexes in there. They just put some of the new stuff up on that. It's pretty cool. They kind of keep that updated and it'll get a little star on it if they put something new in there. The main thing you guys are going to be concerned with are this examinations and performance analysis. Because that's performance analysis is how you did on the test. Examinations are where your tests are. So we're going to click on examinations and go in here. So here's PTA exam 1, exam 2, exam 3. Now, here's the thing. You can take these tests as many times as you want. They're not going to change. Exam 1, exam 2, exam 3 are not going to change. So once you take exam 1, if you reset the exam and take it again, it'll be the same exam. These custom exams do have about another 150 questions hidden in them that may not come from these exams. So there are some additional ones down here in the custom exams. So let's say like I took PTA exam 1 already, what I did was just answer C for everything. I can reset that and retake it if I wanted to. But custom exams, what I'm going to talk about right now. So let's say you studied neuro and you want to go in and take a neuro quiz. You come down here and you click create custom. It will warn you if you've taken a previous one, it's going to reset it. That's fine. I don't care. Once you're in here, you're able to then take a specific custom. So I could take a quiz for musculoskeletal, for neuromuscular, cardiovascular, other systems as anything that doesn't fall in these. So that would be like genitourinary, digestive, stuff like that. Non-systems are a lot of your research questions. So stuff that doesn't fall into a specific system, like, you know, spin and snout, those type things. Down here, we have stuff like data collection. So in each of these, in each system, it's going to be broken down into content. So there may be a question on musculoskeletal data collection or musculoskeletal patho. But down here, I can just take a patho quiz if I wanted. And the patho is going to be on all patho that exists. So let's say I wanted to come in here and I wanted to take, you know, a neuro exam. I can come up here. I can choose anywhere between 25 and 100. I'm going to recommend on your content exams, you take a 25 question quiz because it's only going to be a half-hour quiz. Takes you a half hour of your day to do it, and you get some results. And we're going to come down here. We're going to click neuro. So neuromuscular system. It'll say, going to pick 25 questions, should give you 30 minutes. Now the test will not shut off after 30 minutes, but if you go longer, it'll tell you that you went longer. You could also do a 25 question random test if you wanted it. And you're going to start an exam. It's going to bring out of all those questions that are out there in the score builders world, it will bring in 25 neuro questions for you to answer. And then once you take it, you can go back here to your performance analysis and it will break down. Click on performance analysis. Oh, it's waiting. There we go. I can come down here to my custom exam and look at how I did. So, wow, I did really bad on this test. Well, that's because I clicked random letters. I got 5 out of 25 right. That was kind of bad. And then I can look down through and I can review all the questions I got that are there. I can also review all my answers. So I can look at what I wrote on all my answers. So this allows you to look through, even with your exam 1, you can look through this and see how you did. Oh, I didn't even answer any of the questions on that exam when I submitted it. I must have just clicked submit. And it'll break it down. Here's my system specific questions. Here's my content outline questions. Level analysis. I don't know if you guys remember this, but level is based upon how hard the questions are. The higher the level, the more difficult the question. So that tells you where you are on levels. And then you can review again your questions and review all questions if you want to. So in the full exams, you can just review the incorrect questions. Does that make sense on how to set up a custom exam there? And again, I have instructions on this that I'm going to provide for you. So don't totally freak out. I actually made a whole guide on it. I think everyone's falling asleep. I'm going to stop sharing here. So that's the overview right now. Are there any questions? Whatever that question, if there are private questions, stick around. We can answer those private questions then. But are there any questions? So that's where we are. I'm going to give you guys the study guide. I'm going to provide you with instructions on how to do custom exams that I have. I've just got to figure out where I saved that file at. I was working on that last night too. I just don't know where I saved it at right now. I think it's on my thumb drive.
Mr. McKeever, I think it's on the PTA seminar from last year. Ooh. For whatever reason, it didn't copy over. I think it was in resources or tools.
You're right. It is there. That's right. Thank you.
For some reason, it didn't copy. So feel free to copy. It's all stuff that you made. So feel free to copy it on that Blackboard seminar.
Thank you. I forgot totally about that. That's where it's
I just think some of the application, right, was an older one. So just don't put that one on.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. O'Neill. Do you have anything, any words of wisdom here?
Yeah, I just wanted to really encourage them. I can tell there's a sense of overwhelming anxiety, and that's totally normal. Some of you guys are already asking about, well, what if I wait till October? And I'm gonna, unless there is, and there's been a, an identified actual reason why, it is not okay for you to be ready by July for family reasons, life reasons, that's fine. But if it's because you're nervous that you won't be ready, I believe in all of you. And I think every single one of you should set the goal of being ready by July. The statistics show that the longer you wait after school, your academic, time, the harder it is for multiple reasons. The content's not as fresh in your brain. You're not, actively using it. It just tends to be really hard. And studying for that many months is absolutely overwhelming. You get to a point where it's just, it just gets to be a drag. And so I just sense several of you have already asked about the possibility of putting off to October. I really want us to plan on everybody in July, with the exception that's already been noted, and everybody else. I really want you to kind of focus on that. I don't even want to hear about October yet until we get you guys have so much time. 2 months is a lot of time. So I just don't even really want to entertain that thought in our brain right now until we, get there. Does that make sense with everyone?
I have a question. So for you, Dr. O'Neill, I saw that the calendar shows due today for the Dropbox, but then
I think it's Wednesday. It should be due Wednesday. I'll double check the date.
Okay.
So it should be due Wednesday. And I want you guys, I made you a framework as well, with Mr. McKeever's stuff there. So if you want to obviously use a similar, but I expect you to put hours then, I expect you to put from 4 to 6, because your work schedule already, your daycare schedule, your, family time schedule. So I don't need you to put you're outside of studying things down, but I want you to put down 4 to 6 p.m. Neuro, and even if it's the same time for the whole week, that's fine, but it's your guys' calendar. So make it specific to you.
Okay, I have a question, Dr. O'Neill, and I don't know if you answered this last week or not, but on the study schedule that you provided for us, it says that there's practice quiz 1 is due, I think, tomorrow, and then the final exam quiz is due the 10th.
Yeah, I updated the calendar. So remember, I showed you guys the new calendar. We're only doing 1 practice exam, and it's the one that's going to be due Monday. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep, next Monday. Okay. So so there's only 2 more things you have left for me after today. Of course, you attended Mr. McKeever's Zoom. You guys have the calendar, and once again, it could be very similar to what he released, but I want times, that you've thought about it. So it shouldn't take you that long, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to put something down, and then and that's more for your accountability. And then the practice exam, whether you use a therapy ed, a score builders. I'm even fine if you just want to throw the custom exams, if you want to do an MSK one. I just wanted to show that, I want you to actually do a practice exam, so that way we can kind of talk to you about it and talk you through it. And PTA final exam, our crash course, they did give us exams, Mr. McKeever, if you recall. We the package that we purchased, They gave us, I think, 1 additional exam, or at least partials. I think you get one, yeah. Yeah, 1, or there were 50 questioners, some I think there were a couple of 50 question ones. So so they also get more content. So you guys will have plenty of practice tests. So yeah.
Dr. O'Neill, I have a question.
So
I already submitted the study schedule, but
okay.
I only put 4 hours. I didn't put the actual time frame. I just put the amount of hours for each.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. If you gave me a general idea of how much time you're going to dedicate, that's fine. I just use, like I said, 4 to 6 as an example, just so you understand what, like he said, how much time is really expected. And now that you guys know it's a good chunk of, dedication. So.
But I also did not put which days I'm taking practice exams. So should I resubmit that?
Yeah, go ahead and update. That way it's for you, right? So it's your own calendar. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And the more that you hold yourself accountable, the better you'll be. I'm just going to be honest about that. Thank you, Dr. Neal. Anything else?
And just to reinforce what Mr. McKeever said, and we're not claiming to do, our program is obviously judged on the metrics of our passage rates. And I'll just be fully transparent. The pandemic hit us really hard. The change in leadership hit us really hard. And so I say us because I'm a part of this program now. I'm a leader of it. So I am accountable as well, right? So we want to really set you guys up for success. I feel good that we have students still out there that have not passed, that have been graduated for several months now. And so I really want you guys to understand, not only do we care, and then we have to care. Does that make sense? So like from an accreditation standpoint, so if it seems like we're putting a lot on this, I hope you guys sense that it is important to us as a team, as a PIMA family, PTA. I really feel we take this serious, and you guys should sense the seriousness of it, because it's not only for you guys' success, but really the success of our program is riding on our passage rates for the next couple cohorts. And so I think it'll be great to see how accountability we will uphold for you guys. And then I had fun. Unfortunately, meeting with our group of a handful of them that had to retest. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting to know them better. I enjoyed spending Tuesday, Thursday evenings. It was a great reason to get out of the house. Maybe Mr. McKeever, you had a lot going on too, so it wasn't maybe the best timing, but I got to know them better. So I want you guys to understand we will take that extra time. It is not a bother. You are not bothering us. You guys are, just because you graduated, you are ours until we get you licensed. And even then, I hope you still want to come back and take students and maybe do a guest lecture someday. Who knows, right? So I feel like this isn't the end. I want you guys to know it's really just the beginning for getting you guys ready to be, a consistent part of our team.
Agreed. And if it comes down, again, you need a Tuesday night study session or some review, great, contact us. I'm pretty flexible on moon days. I can do stuff. Just, if I say, hey, I'm teaching from 4 to 6 or, 2 to 4, it's 2 to 4. I can't help you then, but I can help you after. So we will definitely 100% be there for you.
Yeah. And then one more thing, and I won't keep you guys, I know everybody's getting a little tired. The work schedule, you guys, I said this on Friday, and I'm going to say it again, a good supervising PT, a good clinic director PTA is going to recognize that this is the most important thing that you are doing right now. Working for them should not be a 40-hour expectation. Heck, it shouldn't even be a 30-hour expectation. Okay, so I really feel like if some of you are wonderful, you have a couple of jobs already waiting for you and they want you to work, and that's great. A good boss will appreciate that this really, your prep is your main job, and being with them and keeping your clinical skills sharp is great. But you guys I've been in lab with every single one of you. You are not going to forget your transfer techniques in a couple of months. Okay. We can dedicate our academic brain to your prep thing. You will not lose your manual stuff. You will not, that stuff is so easy to pick up because it comes second nature to a lot of you. Whereas the studying part doesn't necessarily come first nature for some of you, right? So I think that just keep that in mind. I don't want to hear that anybody's working 30, 40 hours a week and expect to pass this test. It's just not feasible.
Agreed, 100%. All right, is there any other questions?
All right, I just want to break down everything that I need to know.
Yes, Miss Clarice.
Okay, so do you have like the total amount for like everything, like breakdown process?
The fees, or are you talking about like a step-by-step, what do you have to do next?
Pretty much the fees first and then the step-by-step that we need.
I don't have one for step-by-step, but I do have the fees. I can get that post. I posted that in 208, but I can repost that in 209 for you.
Oh, it's in 208? Okay.
Yeah. Remember, I had posted that right at the beginning of the semester because some of you were freaking out about it, so I posted it. But I can post, and then if you want me to design a step-by-step, I can. It's not a problem. It'll only take a few minutes to do that.
Yeah, that was a lot of like stuff because I was like, I don't know if I should like see that.
Yep, I can post that.
So what's the fees?
Well, the fees. So right now, the fees that you have outstanding, you have your board fee, that $225 or whatever it was on the application. That's that fee. You have the fee for your notary public and your fingerprinting. Notary depends on where you go. It can be anywhere from $10 to $30. And then your fingerprinting, I believe, is $33, or it was the last time I went. I don't know what it is currently.
I think it's $40.25, right, guys? Plus the fee to roll it. And I believe that's 20, the digital thing. But don't quote me on that.
$60.
Yeah.
We'll just go with that. And again, I don't know if the notaries vary. I mean, if you have a friend that does notary, then hey, you save that money. Sometimes also for your notary, just check with your bank, because sometimes like if you have Chase has a notary public if you have a bank account with them. So that may save you that notary fee just by having to go somewhere else, right? So those are the startup fees. Then the next thing you have is your Fsbpt fee, which is $485 plus 1.6%, which comes out to like $493. And then your Prometric seat fee, which I think is $85. I had it up here and I closed it. So hold on one second. Mr. McKeever is not a musical person. I'm bringing it back up here real quick. Content. And like I said, I will copy that folder over so that that's also in 208. So the Prometric fee is $85. So you have two different fees for registering for your exam. You have the fee to the Fsbpt that is paying for the test. That's $485 plus the 1.6, so $493. Then you have $85 that goes to Prometric, which is the center that administers the test and maintains the security of the test. So that comes together like, was that 570? 570-ish, 580-ish. So like I said at the beginning, when we started semester one, I told you guys, it's about $1,000 total till you're all said and done paying to get registered to become a PTA. It's just the way it is. I mean, I know it sounds rough, and it is, but it's not a cheap thing. The good news is once you're registered, once you're done with all this, the only thing you really have to worry about is renewing your license every year, and it's about $150. I think I pay $500 total because I have multiple states, but then you don't have to pay this taking a test every year and stuff like that, thankfully. But I will definitely post the fees for you, Clarice. That's not a problem at all. As soon as we're done, I'll log into that and transfer it over for you. And then I can do a step-by-step. So your next goal, the one thing that you should be doing is working on Dr. O'Neill's requirements for 209. Like that is probably priority one. What she tells you to do, get that done. And then start going through and filling out your application, getting everything you need for your application together and getting your application put together. And again, if you're somebody that's, ex-military or family is military and you need help, we can kind of talk separately. The application is pretty similar. You just have to have the right information. And I think it is the 214. I just haven't looked recently.
It actually doesn't say.
It doesn't?
It doesn't say what you should send in or anything.
All right, I will double check with them then. I'm pretty sure the last time I asked it was the 214, but I'll double check. I'll email Muriel today. She's usually good about getting, like I said, I have nothing but good things to say about the administrative staff at the board here in town. They are back to us pretty quick. So, and even Mr. Harvey, who's the executive director, even if I email him, he gets back to me really quick. So our board is pretty good. I'm just going to say it. They're a little strict, but they're pretty good. Anything else?
So what do we need for to have when we get to the testing?
What you need? Okay, good question. So I was going to cover that closer to it. The main thing you need for when you go to testing is they'll send you an email stating that you're authorized to sit for test. So I printed that email and I took it with me just because it has your reservation number on it. You don't even really need that, but I took it just so I had it. And you need 2 forms of government issued ID. So, I took my passport and my license. Some people took like their license and I think their voter registration card or something. There's a list of what you can bring with, and we'll go over that when we get closer to taking the test. But you need 2 forms of government ID.
So you just bring the reserve email seat and then passport and ID?
Yeah, so just enough to show that you are who you are.
Okay.
Let's try to see if they... I was just going to look to see what the actual what the IDs looked like. Exam eligibility test, authorization test, scheduling your exam. Yeah, I know it's in here. I just don't know where it's, test day, there we go. Qualifying identification. Your primary ID must be the following, meet the following criteria. Be a government issued, so you have to have two forms of ID. First one has to be government issued, include a photo that can be used to identify you, be printed with your name, including your signature, and be unexpired, not clipped, stamped, void, or anything. So basically your license. The secondary ID must meet the following requirements. Must be current, include your pre-printed name and your signature. So like your student ID, I don't think has your signature on it, so I don't think that would work. But again, I just took passport and my license, and I actually think my passport was expired, but I wouldn't recommend that. Yes. Anything else, Clarice? I love your questions, by the way, because they're very insightful and thoughtful. I know you're nervous.
I'm sure I got everything.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. And again, you're not alone. I'm not going to abandon you after this. So if you have further questions, you're filling out the form, you're like, oh my God, what do I need here? Contact me. That's what I'm here for. So Dr. O'Neill and I get paid for, right? We get paid for getting you guys ready and getting you through the boards.
So, Mr. McKeever, for the Prometric, when we schedule, we gotta wait till we get the letter, then we schedule and we pay the $85 fee.
Well, that gets paid when you register for the exam. So all of that. So what you'll do is when you go onto the Fsbpt, and you all should have gotten a notification through email that's had you set up your Fsbpt account. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You'll log on to that account and you'll register for the exam. You will pay the fee to them, and then it'll take you to another kind of like sub-site where you'll pay the fee to Prometric. Does that make sense?
No, I didn't go there. I just paid the $493 and that's it. And it says 4 out of 5 the steps.
Okay, so you should be able to they changed it then. So you should be able to go and complete 5 out of 5 by paying for your seat fee. I have to look at that. It's been a while since I did that, so it may have changed recently because I know they changed the fee, so they may have changed the way. You just have to, if you've already paid the $45 for the test, then you just have to pay your seat fee, and that's it.
So can I do it like today? You
should be able to. I will look into that for you. I'm pretty sure you can. The Fsbpt site should have the information on it. I just don't know. Let's see. Schedule the exam. Pre-registration process. Go to Pro. Oh yeah. Yeah, you'll go to the Prometric site to pay your seat fee. Okay, there it is. They did change the way to do it. So there's a link on the Fsbpt site where you'll go and you'll register for the exam.
Okay.
Yep. I didn't know they changed that. It used to be all on one thing, so I guess they're doing it separately now. I guess Prometric wants their own money separately.
All right, so I just want to get this all final. So first up,
well, not final. You still have us forever, but yeah.
So first up is the Fsbpt registration. If you have not registered,
yes, get that done.
They had an assignment, so they all should have it done. I double checked. I don't think there was anyone left.
I don't think there was anyone either. I think that's done as well. Yeah.
Okay, and then it kind of like put you on pause till you go like email your application.
So you get your application into the board. Yeah, you can't email it. You can only snail mail it or fax it. I don't think you can email it. Pretty sure it has to be physical.
And
but yes.
I mean, like the folder already comes with the application form, the fingerprinting, the 2x2.
Yep, all that stuff.
All that stuff.
Yep.
And then for kind of like step 3 for the Fsbpt is that you have to wait till your application get processed.
You should be able to pay for your seat if you wanted to. It's just your seat won't be confirmed until the application is processed by your board. So like Sukana just asked, could she go pay that $85 fee? I am pretty confident you can go pay it, choose your date, but you will not be confirmed for that seat until the board has completed your application.
What would you recommend for us to pay the fee?
If you have it, get it out of the way. The more that you can get done now and not have to worry about, the better. I'm just going to be honest. That was my thing, is I just wanted to get everything out of the way. So the only thing I had to worry about was sitting for my test.
And then for like the what's that one? This, what is that grade? I totally forgot. What's
the what? For PTA 209?
Transcript. Oh wait, what was that? I totally forgot. Like for all like the grade, the
transcripts?
The transcripts, there you go. Yeah, I was right then.
You don't have to do anything about that. We will send the transcripts over.
All right, so we don't have to like email you everything that we already mail our application or anything like that?
No, our registrar will send over the transcripts, and Dr. O'Neill and I will make sure our registrar sends them over in a timely manner.
Okay.
Because we have to verify, that's part of our requirements also for the state, is we verify that you guys graduated.
All right, so pretty much once we get everything, like a mail-in application, pay the parametric fees, pretty much we all have to do is study and wait.
That's it. Yep. Once you get everything done, your last goal is study, 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 and pass the boards. That's it. You got it. Don't freak out too much. And again, we're here for you, Clarice. So don't feel overwhelmed entirely.
No, I just don't want to forget anything. So I just want to make sure that pretty much.
And when we do further study sessions, I'm going to check to see where you guys are. I'm going to say, so who's sending their applications? Who's sending this? Who's sending that? That type of ideas. That makes sense?
Okay.
So I'm going to keep you honest.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
You said you're going to find out about the board fee if we have to pay it all over the phone or something?
I can find, I don't know how to do the credit card, because they used to have a form on here for writing your credit card information on it, but I don't see that anymore. So I don't know. Let me see. Where was that? That was page like 7 or something like that with the fees. Because it says you can pay by credit card. I just don't know how to pay by credit card. We accept credit cards, personal checks, money orders, and yes, we do not accept cash. So you can't pay cash. So I'm pretty confident you have to pay over the phone if you do credit card. Honestly, if you can do check, just do check. It'll make it easier for you. But I'll find out about credit cards for you. I'll email Muriel.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I was wondering if we have to send in the application first and then call them to pay credit.
That's what I'll find out. I'm not sure about that. I will find out. Usually, I know probably they'll say that you pay first, then send the application. I'm going to guess. That's going to be my guess, but I'll find out officially for you. I will find out officially. I actually have that on my little list to do there. Here. Anything else? Because I know a couple of you want to talk to me privately, so. Write the code, Michelle. So 802.3 or whatever your code was. You do not need to copy your Social Security card.
Thank you thank you for doing this. I'm going to go ahead and cut out so you can speak to them privately.
Yep.
If there's something that you feel like they need to reference me, encourage them to do that as well, please.
I will. No problem. Thanks, Dr. O'Neill. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye, you guys.
I'm going to stop the recording.